Right, today I've come to Littlecote Manor to see Littlecote Roman Villa. Not the big house behind me, that's just a hotel. The Roman Villa is way more interesting, trust me. The ruins behind me were built in the late 4th century, around 360 AD, during the age of Julian, the so-called Apostate. Julian inherited what was becoming a Christian empire, but he decided he wanted to go back to the old ways, to the pagan faiths, neo-Platonian theology and rhetoric and logic, and he passed a number of laws that encouraged pagan sites to be built and discouraged Christian sites. And this building, with its huge pagan religious mosaics, was probably a direct result of that policy, because this building is what's known as a collegium, a retreat for the elite to focus on their religious rites, and in this case, the religious rite of Bacchus. Long-time viewers of the channel will know I love a good mosaic, and my God, this is a good mosaic. It is stunning in its detail and complexity. It is amazing to see one kept this well. It is a little bit unfortunate that it's semi-open to the elements. There's a little bit of bird damage. I'd like one day to see this in a fully enclosed building. But even so, the detail here is magnificent. You can see the Roman swastikas, the chaotic geometric patterns they loved, the incredible knotwork. And this is just the regular part. And in the center we have this huge boss showing numerous gods. So as we go around the center here, we've got Persephone, goddess of the underworld, on a goat. We have Venus, goddess of love, on a hind. We have Nemesis, goddess of vengeance and justice, on a panther. And as we go around, we have Demeter on a bull, with Orpheus in the center. The detail is stunning. It's a little bit hard to see because it's such a grey day, but the colors are really well kept. I'm very, very happy with this. Again, there's a little bit of dirt, bird dirt, that I would like to get rid of at some point, but I haven't seen a mosaic in this higher quality condition out in the open air. Now I know from what I've read that this is slightly restored, but only very slightly. It was discovered in 1727 by a man digging in his garden. It was uncovered in 1727, the study of significant archaeological study, and then it was recovered because it was assumed that that would keep it safe for future generations. Unfortunately, it didn't. Without maintenance and having been uncovered and recovered, it enabled a bit of frost weathering to occur, and roughly a quarter to half the tiles were shattered. These were replaced with identical copies when it was taken back up in the 1970s. So, admittedly, it isn't perfectly Roman, but it was perfectly Roman when it was first discovered, and then we miserable humans broke it again. And one aspect of this building which is remarkable and unique in Britain is the so-called triconch. That's 3 asps going off a central area, sort of half domes. And nowhere else in Britain has this building structure. And in AD 36, the Roman Empire was in many ways, AD 36, AD 360, in many ways its greatest technological prowess, and painfully, as we know from history, about to collapse. It would only be 50 years later that the Britons were told to look to their own defense, and the legions would leave. Saxons would invade, Picts would invade, the Irish would invade. It was chaos just 50 years after this magnificent piece was built. However, one of the things that saved this piece is that it was abandoned before the Saxon invasions. Because of its pagan nature, it was incredibly controversial for the ancient Romans, who were rapidly Christianizing, and the elite of society, after Julian the Apostate died, immediately re-embraced Christianity, and it never left. So this pagan site was buried and abandoned and forgotten about, And that's why we still have it today. Although I can't find any direct confirmation of it, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the Corinium school at work. It's very similar to work that they were doing at around this time. Similar finials on the edges, similar dogs. Again, no confirmation, but it wouldn't surprise me, a layperson with a casual interest. And this villa is absolutely huge. This western range is as big as a standard villa. And then it has this collegium added to it for the religious rites of Bacchus. And beyond the trees, over here, is even more, which we'll go and look at in a minute. But at the same time, you should also think, these are oak trees that we're looking at here. They are magnificent and hundreds of years old, and they're just growing all over the ruins. This is the time scale that boggles the mind when you see it like this, that these are older than anyone you've ever met. Anyone who can remember the oldest person they've ever met, these are older. And there are Roman ruins underneath them. It's very exciting. It really is. And it's one of the things that makes British history so incredibly interesting, because this site was buried and forgotten about, but because it's such a useful location not far from the river, someone else built a farmhouse on top of it. So when they were digging in their garden, they found the mosaics. It's a really wonderful, just fun thing that we have this history piled on history piled on history. These stone foundations may not look like much, but they were originally a triple-arched gatehouse, almost the height of this oak tree. This section here were stables, and beyond there, an outer wall that guarded the entire villa, running all the way to the end of the field, round, back to the mosaics, back up to here, keeping a large, fortified villa that would have dominated the region economically and militarily. This is a relatively unusual site because it extends out beyond what would have been the border wall. This is the border wall. And it's theorized that this was a shrine, and a local nature deity would look into the villa, blessing the villa and its gardens, because all of the interior space that wasn't buildings would have been luxurious formal gardens. And in these woods, not far from the ruins, we can see the likely reason that this villa was placed here. This stream looks calm and placid, but it links up with the Kennet, which links up with the Thames. If you want to move your goods efficiently, this is the way you do it. Load them onto a boat, that will take it anywhere it needs to go. We're also not far from the Roman road, which would have provided an important link to the rest of the empire. So, if you were a rich statesman in ancient Rome and owned a magnificent villa here and needed to go to Londinium or Corinium or any of the other major cities in ancient Rome, it would have been very easy to ford the little river, get onto the Roman road and disappear off into the countryside. And this here were the ruins of the main house. This contained a bathhouse, prestigious staterooms, and also workrooms, smoke houses, bake houses, brew houses, everything an estate would need to run itself as both a self-sufficient community and also as an export commodity, sending out its goods to the rest of the empire. One of the great tragedies of ancient Rome is the villas that we all admire and are the symbols of Roman sophistication and magnificence in architecture were also one of the causes for the downfall of Rome. Because in order to try and get more tax income, because the Romans were notorious tax cheats, they taxed goods moving from one landowner to another. So if you owned a villa and a large amount of land, how best to avoid taxes? Make your villa self-sufficient. And that sowed the seeds for feudalism. No longer were people linked to Rome through complex trade agreements. Now they had only the 10 miles around their villa to look after, and they didn't care what happened beyond those borders. And it's a real tragedy that this site, which is magnificent, one of the best I've seen in Britain, was built in the last few decades before the complete collapse of everything that the Romans loved.